You know what I'm talking about. You were with me when they count me out. So I put them boogers on you now. Diamond dancing while you sway. We took it slow like on the 405. You ain't doubted, never roll your eyes. Now the boogers on you froze like mine. All your wrists and neck and ring. They dancing, dancing. Can't help it, I wanna show her off. Pull up on him, then we skirt off. She stuck with me when I was worse off. Now we got guap out of furlong. Cause she the only one who ride like that. From the jump, she by my side like that. With me when I'm low high like that. So anything she wanna buy like that. So point it out and we can get that. The guala baby, we can get back. The boogers on you, you can beat that, yeah. You know what I'm talking about. You were with me when they count me out. So I put them boogers on you now. Diamond dancing while you sway. We took it slow like on the 405. You ain't gotta never roll your eyes. Now the boogers on you froze like mine. All your wrists and neck and ring. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. I've been meaning to text you, I've been meaning to call. I ain't mean to upset you, didn't mean it at all. Know exactly how you like it, all your little fetishes. See my long neck, good for reaching all them little crevices. Yeah, we can drop top in the 76. You know wide body so that ass can fit. I admit it, been dealing with issues. So just cause I ain't with you don't mean I miss you. I'm your big papi and mama Masita. No Richard Nixon, I want in a picture. We'll do it again like we don't get amnesia. So baby, next time that I see you, you know what I'm talking about. You were with me when they count me out. So I put them boogers on you now. Diamond dancing while you sway. We took it slow like on the 405. You ain't doubted, never roll your eyes. Now the boogers on you froze like mine. All your wrists and neck and ring. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crush Live Callins. That music in the background there is composed by our own Squish My Tomato, if you're watching it live. In the intro, we'll play it out for the podcast, the whole thing at the end of the podcast. It's the Callins Show. As always, the number is 323-348-1281, 323-348-1281. I've actually locked the call-ins right now because we've got 7 people on hold. So I'm not sure if the phone lines will open up here. But for you guys that are on hold, just do me a favor and stay on mute. Don't unmute yourself so that we can have a good show. We've got, there's 481-210, 510-910, 708-318, and somebody from Skype are all on hold. So let's get this thing started here. I know this guy from Phoenix, Arizona, in the 480. He was the first caller. You are up first. Who is this?
Art, it's Andrew.
Andrew, Drew Shark,
Yes, yes, it is.
what's going on, buddy? What a World Series game last night, huh? One of the best ever.
It's incredible. I wish these guys would get their pitching together. It's just frustrating to watch. It's great for the fans, but obviously it's just almost whoever's left standing when it's all over. But it's been fun to watch, that's for sure. It's just a slugfest. It's like watching an old-fashioned, college baseball game from like the 80s.
Why? Just because like the pitching's so gassed at the end, the hitters are gonna have such an advantage, basically.
It's just, I mean, it really is. Whoever makes the least mistakes at this point. I mean, I'm a pitching and defense guy myself, but yeah, I mean, I just think they're all gassed. Hopefully, they can take the day off today and come back tomorrow and at least, not have to use every single guy in the bullpen again. But it's been fun to watch, obviously, for the fans. I think it's pretty exciting.
For those of you that aren't aware, Andrew used to pitch in the majors and also has been a coach for quite some time, a pitching coach. You were in Double A last year, and now you're a scout, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty cool to talk some baseball with him a little bit too. Wide strike zone last night too, by the way. Lots of high strikes, breaking balls called at the armpits. You never used to see that before, but
I think at this point, they need all the help they can get these pitchers.
Yeah.
These guys are just not getting anything done. Yeah. Exactly.
So. Are you got a hand for us? Are you in Arizona right now?
I do. Yeah. Actually, it's not a big deal with actual hand. It's more of a hand pass properly, making sure I was taking out the hand the right way.
Okay.
Basically, it's a 3-5, $500 spread game.
Okay.
$500 max bet per street. You can raise 500. I cover the table. Most of the villains are in the $800 to $1,000 range.
Okay.
The main villain, I believe, has about 1,100.
Okay.
He's in the small blind, but I'm under the gun with pocket fours.
Okay.
I limp for $5. I'll occasionally raise this. I'll occasionally pitch it in a tough game, but I'm it's pretty passive. So I'm just going to limp this. It gets raised to 20 by a guy in the middle position, and he's very, very standard kind of nothing special. He's easy to read, and you can figure out where he's at.
Okay.
He raises, and we end up getting two callers in position. The small blind calls, and I call in the under the gun.
Okay. So it looks like 4 or 5 ways, right?
It's 5 ways, but $100 in the pot.
Okay.
Flop is rainbow 764.
Okay.
I check, thinking this guy is maybe an overpair and might bet, and that the idea was that there's more players behind. I can trap more money in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll occasionally leave this out. Obviously, it's pretty transparent. The draw comes in if it's checked through.
Sure.
So I just figured I check. It gets checked all the way to the button, who's the last one besides the small blind. This player is pretty splashy. Is not going to bet out without something, but also will play a lot of draws pretty aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
So they bet 25 on the button.
25. First of all, I just want to point something out here too. I actually played a long session of 5-5 at the bike. I might play that game more. I mean, this might be for my own podcast, but I really just don't enjoy playing at Commerce 510 these days with all the Euros, and I really like the bike. And I went there so I could watch the Dodgers game too, and I use the Tunity app, so way better than seeing it at Commerce. And picked up like 3,200 in like 8 hours at 5-5. But one of the things that, and I might just play that game more just for material for the site, because every time I go, I see stuff that can be applied, in 5-5 games for the site. I think at this level, you don't really have to, I think that you certainly can have a lot of people don't have a leading range here when they go up to the higher levels at all into the preflop raiser. I think in general that's a mistake, and especially the lower that you go, you should have a leading range here, because here's the thing. If you lead out, you're going to get a lot more hands that are marginal to call you than if you check raise. And the thing is that if somebody doesn't have an overpair, if the preflop raiser just has overcards, unless he's just a total idiot, he's not going to c-bet this board. He, like with king, queen, and ace, king. So you get into a situation where there's 4 other people in the pot, you're first to act. So if the preflop raiser doesn't connect with this board and he checks, somebody else, they might bet their hand, but it might not be that strong. Somebody might bet ace-6, and you get into a situation where you see that you end up actually winning more money by leading out to get several streets from a field caller than checking to check raise. So it's a combination of The preflop raiser is not going to bet in this situation unless they have an overpair. And you want the field callers to call. You also don't necessarily, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world that it gets checked through, but I still want to start building value because now you get into this situation where the pot's $100, right? Gets checked to the button. He bets 25. And what are you going to do here? I mean, you could check raise. You obviously could call, but you start to see how there's a lot of value lost. And the problem with sometimes check calling here is people get lost as to what to do on the turn. Like they might check call, it might get folded around, and now on the turn they check, guy checks behind, and now all of a sudden we're looking at a $150 pot with a set with a 1/4 pot size bet that was made on the flop. We've got no value. So,
what kind of leading size do you like from the under the gun there if you lead out?
What's that?
For the players.
I would just I would probably lead for 65 or 70. I did that out of the small blind with King Jack yesterday when I flopped top 2 into 4 people, and you actually you would think that, oh, that's a board that the preflop raiser might bet, it might connect with them, so why not just check it over? I just thought this guy wasn't going to see bet, and he was so nitty. I thought that I could actually get the most amount of value by just leading out. But here I like leading out here, and I'd probably bet 65 or 70. So this guy bets 25, and what do you decide to do here?
It was actually 75.
75. Okay, 75. That's a little bit different. Well, so if he bets if he had 75 here, you've got bottom set. So
before you go on, the small blind called before me.
Oh, small blind now. Okay.
And the small blind called, yeah.
Okay. Now I think you probably want to check raise. I thought you were next to act. I thought I got checked to the button and then you were next to act. Because that would have been an interesting situation. Now when the small blind calls, I probably would check raise. You don't have to make it large. Maybe you make it 175 or 200. So, I mean, I'm not going to be scared of getting overset all that much in these games if you're lumping in with 4s. You know what I mean? So I would probably make it 175 here. You know, you actually want pair plus straight draws to call. The draw is very transparent to you, right? Like if someone's got a 5, it's pretty obvious if a 3 or an 8 comes. So that's a really good situation for you to be in with a value hand when you know what they have. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, I went a little bigger. I figured there was, after I call, there's going to be about $300 in the pot.
Mm-hmm.
325 actually.
Yeah.
So I raised to 275, which might,
that might be a little bit big. Yeah, I would just tend to massage it a little bit because, like I said, a lot of these people aren't paying attention in these games, but raise sizes like that usually indicate strength from a lot of players, and people recognize that. So, if you make it 175, you might get a guy with pocket 8s to call. But if you make it 275, they might just fold. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit large.
Okay. All right. Well, so I make it 275.
Mm-hmm.
It folds back to the button who kind of hems and haws, and they're looking at the small blind who looks very interested in the hand,
mm-hmm.
and they fold. Small blind now back raises to 775.
So wait a minute, button folds, and now the small blind makes it 775?
Yeah, that's the max bet with about 350 behind.
Wow, that's interesting. So this is an interesting math question because on the surface this feels like a fold to me. I would just have to look at the math here. So basically you treat that as an all-in. So you make it 275. Let's say he calls it 275, 550. There was already 650 in the pot, and he has another, what did you say, 300 behind?
350 or so, 325, somewhere in there.
So it looks to me like 650. If you're
plus the button 75 too. The button
sure. So here's the thing: like if he turns over a straight, you need to get about 2-1. It's like a flush draw having a set with 2 cards to come, a little bit worse. It looks like you're getting about 2-1. The problem is if you're oversetted. So in this particular spot, like I think that the times he's going to have a higher set sometimes, and he's going to have a straight, which you barely even have the right price. So I probably fold here, treating this as an all-in, unless I have some reason to call him like he's a maniac or something.
What if I think it's dead on a straight? This guy wouldn't call with a set, but would just
Well, it's all pot odds. I mean, it's all pot odds. Like I said, if you're getting 2-1, and like I said, so I mean, there was 100, 175, 350, 550. I mean, what are the pot odds? It's hard for me to like.
It's
what
725, 500 to call. So before it gets, so it's 1225, 500 to call, and then he's got 250 back. So it's like 1550.
800 to call if we consider.
Like that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you need just over 2-1.
Yeah, it's like 36% versus straight, something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I look at it like 7 outs and then 10 outs. So it's somewhere around there. What did you do? What ended up happening?
Well, that was my question. Do I just push if I'm going to go with it, or do I don't call and call off?
No. That's okay. Whenever you're dealing with a race size like this, you just treat it as an all-in. It actually becomes easier with the pot odds. Like I said, I would just look at this and be like, oh, okay, he backed raise all in for 1100. You know what I mean? It's like I made it 275, and now he back raised all in for 1100. So the pot's like whatever 18-9 for me to call or whatever it is. So what ended up happening?
Yeah, it was about 2-1. I pushed, he called, he had 8-5, and I bricked out. But I was just trying to think about the right, make sure I had the math right in my head. 2-1's fine. Okay to call off there if you don't think he has a set.
But I don't. But the thing is that like. I think this becomes a rather easy fold. I'm easy fold with a set, but it's an easier fold because when he does have a higher set, you're basically drawing dead, and I don't think you can dismiss that. So even if it's close here, the fact that he can have 7s or 6s makes this an easy fold. Now, if you had pocket 6s, I always talk about middle set is usually my cutoff point where I go with it on straightening boards. You can't flop top. You can't fold top set but with bottom set, when you think someone's got a straight or a higher set, it becomes a lot hairier. But Drew, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate it, Bart. Yep.
All right. So we're gonna go to the next caller, and we got to move along. I took a little bit of time there with Drew, but I'm gonna try to get to these ones in 10 minutes or so each one. 210, you're up next.
Hey Bart, this is Ace Leaf. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
I've got a hand for you.
Okay.
I've actually I won the Mega Monthly Tournament at my local card house.
Nice.
On Saturday for
Awesome.
4,500, which was
Cool.
awesome.
Cool.
But I'm going to the HPT on Thursday to play up in Pittsburgh, so I've kind of got the tournament bug back just recently. But
Sweet.
this was from a cash game about a week ago.
Okay.
I think I made the worst fold I think I've ever made. I just want to confirm it with you.
Okay.
I had Ace Jack offsuit.
What's the size of the game again?
It's a 1-2 game.
1-2, and what are the stacks approximately? Effective stacks?
Should have been 475.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so under the gun open, it's a 12.
Okay.
Guy to my right on the cutoff calls, I call, and I think one other person had called.
Okay.
Yeah, they must have.
Okay.
Flop comes Ace, Jack, 10, 2 hearts.
Okay. Yep. So you
the
flop top
under the
2.
gun-
You have top
Right,
2
right.
here. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. The under the gun bets 40. One person folds. The guy to my right in the cutoff calls. I raise it to 100.
So repeat that again. So the pre-flop raiser bets 40. One guy calls in between.
Right. And then I go to 100, which, looking at it now, is way too small. But that's what I did. And they both called the 100.
Okay.
So I guess that puts the pot at about 350. Yeah, right about 350.
I think sometimes people look at this on the surface and they're like, I think at this level at 1-2, I'm fine with a thin value raise here with the Ace Jack.
Okay.
I even think that you could even raise with like Jack 10 here for value. I wouldn't do that in my games against a pre-flop raiser who c-bets this board, but the lower you go, the more you're going to get called by worse. So I don't have a problem with your play. I mean, I would have made it more like maybe 125 to 150, something like that. But okay. So here to 100, right. Pre-flop calls, and the other guy calls. Now the pot's like 350.
Right.
Yep.
So there was 2 hearts. Ace Jack, 10, 2 hearts.
Mm-hmm.
The turn is the 6 of diamond.
Okay.
And the original raiser, under the gun, bets 200, leaving himself like 150 behind.
Okay.
Guy to my right folds after hemming and hawing forever. And I took forever with it, and I actually ended up folding. I've been listening to Ed Miller too much, I think, believing people on the turn and river.
Yeah, you can't fold that because, and again, especially at this level, a guy might just think ace king or ace queen's the nuts here. You know, you didn't tell me. I don't know if you noticed the board distribution also, like which card wasn't a heart, something like that. But at 1-2, people are just gonna bet like they think that they're gonna have crazy protection. I thought you were gonna tell me that the guy to your right called. That's kind of interesting.
No. Yeah, he folded. He
Yeah.
said he had a flush draw and was a gut shot. So he was. I'm not sure what two purpose. I never really thought about it, but yeah. So he folded, and I folded. I couldn't believe I folded afterwards. And then he showed the under the gun showed Jack 10 offsuit.
Yeah. See, that's what I
mad
mean.
at myself.
Yeah, or ace 10, or he could have ace 10 too, right? So
Yeah.
so he's just betting like a lot of hands there that he feels like is for protection. But it's really interesting because you raise to 100 and they both call, and now the pre-flop raiser
Donks out.
donks turn.
Yeah.
So the thing is that he's almost never going to have king queen there. This is a protection type of bet. I mean, what that represents is I'm waiting for a safe card, and now I'm going to bet the turn. But
Yeah.
people will play king queen way faster, and they'll play sets way faster. So you also
figured he
block
was-
a lot of the sets too. So
I figured he was scared of hearts. So I mean, I clearly had him on pocket tens and king queen, and that's why I ended up folding. And I mean, his bet was more than half his stack, so I knew he was strong. I just didn't know I was stronger.
yeah, you just got to think about all the hands. You know what I mean? All the hands that can sort of be there in people's people's range. But
Well,
good luck in
I
Pittsburgh.
wouldn't have thought he would have opened the Jack 10 off under the gun though. I mean, because he seemed like a pretty good player.
Yeah, but he's going to open ace
Surprising.
king and ace queen, and maybe Jack 10 suited, and maybe ace 10 too, right? So
Yeah, I mean Jack 10 suited, sure, but I mean I was kind of surprised when I saw Jack 10 off too. But anyway,
yeah.
so
Thanks.
it was a horrible fold.
Well, you know, live and learn. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Bart.
All right. Next caller here, Richmond, California, 510. You're up next, 510.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi, this is Leo. I have a hand for you, a 2-5 game.
Okay. Where's this played out of? First time caller, Leo?
Yeah, first time.
Cool. Where's this played out of?
Well, since I'm not 21, I have to go to San Diego to play this. So, Sequan Casino.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of it.
Is that near Vieques?
Yes.
Vieques?
Sorry?
Is that near Vieques? Vieques
Uh,
Casino?
Oh,
No.
yeah, it is. At
Okay.
Cajon? Yeah, around there. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was my first 2-5 game I've ever played live. Went down there, give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with 800. Well, actually 500, but I brought it up to about 800.
Mm-hmm.
People there, most of them are older, maybe 40s, 50s, something like that.
Okay.
I'm the young kids, so I think they're not really giving me any respect, but I'm picking up a lot of hands, so I'm getting paid off a lot.
Okay.
And so I get 8-9 of spades on the small blind.
Okay.
The button raises to 15.
So the button
tried to
raises,
three-bet.
he open raises to 15. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He covers me. I don't know if he's played longer than I have, and he covers me. So he has
Sure.
maybe 1,000 something, but he covers me.
Mm-hmm.
So I 3-bet to 45. I think I just saw that he was opening too wide, and he was going to fold a lot.
Okay,
I
so
had
this
8-9.
right, I got you. And so and also too, this is kind of a funny little thing here because of the differences in game sizes. So, first of all, your sizing is probably a little bit too small here. You should probably make it at least 4x here from out of position, maybe to 60, maybe even 65. But Callins Ma and I on our Top Section podcast had this discussion, and again, if you listen to the other caller, I just played a big thing of 5-5 at the bike. People look at this spot in theory and they're like, all right, well, I have to 3-bet here out of the small blind, 15, right? The game's 2-5. But if you're playing live poker and you've got a big kind of fish in the big blind, or even if the button is a big fish too, you can call. It's not illegal to flat call in the small blind. It's not really standard. Usually you would play a 3-bet or fold there, but you certainly can call, especially with like midish pocket pairs and stuff like that. People just, I feel like they approach these live games sometimes without thinking about how am I going to win the most amount of money against the people that might be in the pot. And that's what just drives me nuts. What's going on in Commerce 510 is these European aggro preflop guys they just suck the win rate out of everything. But it's not like they're increasing their own win rate. They're just playing super high variance pre-flop. But anyways, enough of my spiel on that. I think you should go larger, probably to 60. But you make it 45. Okay.
Yeah, so I make it 45. The big blind folds and the button calls.
Okay.
So flop comes King 10 Jack Rainbow. So there's one spade, which will be important because I have 2 spades. They'll come up eventually. So I decided, he checked, I decided to make it 50. The pot is about 70, something like that.
Well, pot's like 100, right?
Sorry. Well, yeah, I make it 15. I mean, I make it 45. He calls. Yeah, the pot is more like 100. I make it 50. I guess because my first time playing live 2-5. I'm also playing online, so I'm not sure what the size thing is.
Okay, so you do play a lot of you play a decent amount online. Is that what you're saying, basically?
Yeah.
But this is where you come from.
Exclusively online.
Okay.
Because I can't play live. Yeah.
I think that sizing's fine. I think that sometimes inexperienced players will go like larger, but 50 is fine. By the way, I want to give it a shout out to, because we'll probably post this video, to J-Man, Jamon Burton, who's in the live chat. You can search for his vlogs, and if you want to subscribe to them, you can subscribe to Jamon Burton and also Swiper Vlog. Shout out to you guys. So King Jack 10, Rainbow, you bet 50, button calls?
He calls.
Okay, cool.
So the turn comes the 7 of spades. So I have my backdoor flush draw came, and I made a straight.
So you got a straight and you got your backdoor flush draw. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I have the amounts wrong because I was thinking I guess I messed it up, but essentially I made it about 60% of the pot. So yeah, 'cause I wrote it down, but I think I had it
like
wrong.
120 or something like that. 60% of the pot would be about 120. Okay.
Yeah, I looked at the pot and made it about a little more than half. So he calls, and the thing is, he's been playing a lot of hands with me. I feel that he thinks he can, run over me in a way, or maybe he's just trying to. I don't know what it is. I just feel that he thinks I'm very aggressive.
Well, what do you think what do you think his flop and turn call represent? Because remember, I mean, the ranges are a little bit wider because you 3-bet small pre-flop, but I mean, this is just kind of fundamental hand reading. Like, he's not going to probably always call with anything that he opened from the button. So what's the most obvious draw out there on the flop that connects with hands that might be a 3-bet call pre?
Well, I think he has a lot of queens. I think he would continue with any queen X, especially with me.
Yeah, and that's going to be a pair plus straight draw, right? Like a lot, right? If it's broadways. So
that's right.
King, queen, Jack, queen, Queen 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something like that. He might have bottom 2 here, too, and be playing it a little bit slow. But, I mean, those would be the logical hands, I feel like, that he has here. So, you bet 120, he calls.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much the pot is right now, but it's
440.
Maybe one. Yeah, right. So I have maybe something like a little more over a pot size bet, right? Left on the river, I think.
If you start it with 800, yeah, you got about a pot and a half size bet. You get about maybe 600 left, something like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. So what happens is the river comes the king of clubs, so I don't make my flush, but I sell my straight. And,
sure.
I'm thinking he could have maybe some kind of king. He would call the flop bet. There's so many draws. I think he could.
Yep.
Very likely have a king.
Mm-hmm.
So I make it. I don't go all in. I make it about half of my stack, and then he shoves over me.
So you bet about what, maybe 300, something like that.
Yeah, and then about that, and then he goes all in.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that you're going to be good here. He's either going to have a full house, or he somehow just thinks he's like cool and like slow playing ace queen of spades, basically. This is a pretty I mean, see here again, it's funny that you said that in the beginning of the call. You feel like, they're going to push you around or something. But like we said before, this is a really kind of, I mean, it's a spot that I've learned from playing live poker for like almost 15 years. It's an easy spot where even if you think you're up against a guy that you think is pushing you around, the way that this hand is played out is that if he thinks you're bluffing, he's going to have some sort of showdown value. So there's no, I mean, I'm looking at this board, king 10, jack 7, king. What hand is he going to bluff shove the river with? Because all of his hands pair. Now, have a pair in them for the most part, right? Now, the thing is that when you start getting against players that are capable of, raising all in on the river, like with queen 10 as a bluff to represent a full house, or taking a king and turning it into a bluff or something like that, well, that's different, but that doesn't go on. That doesn't even go on up at 5-10. 2-5, this is bread and butter bet fold here at the end. Now, I think what actually is a little bit interesting here too, even if you're going to get you're going to get a pretty good price here, right? Like you bet 300, 440. The pot's like 1,040. It's like 300 for you to call, but I can't see you being good here 1 out of 4 times. The river sizing is sort of interesting too, because I think I might go smaller, because I do think a lot of his hands comprise of pair plus straight draws. You know what I mean? Like I think that maybe you probably would hear from him with ace king pre. Maybe not necessarily, but there's got to be some frequency that he might come back over the top pre with ace king. You're losing now to the 2 pair kings if they just slow play it the whole way, right? So the only real king he has here is like king, queen, king 9, but he's got a lot of queen jacks and queen 10s and things like that. I'm just ever thinking, do I ever check this river to get him to bet? I think that people just check behind so much. A good approach here is just to bet your own hand at 2-5. Now, like I said, I might bet smaller so that jack 10 and queen 10 stuff don't fold, but you've actually made it a little bit easier to play, because I think that this guy has a nil bluffing frequency now when you take the sizing at the end. So when it ended up happening?
I thought about it for a second, but I ended up thinking the best case scenario maybe he has a king, but even then I don't know if he would shove that.
Yeah.
So I just decided to let it go, and he showed queen jack. So.
Wow, what a play by him! That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick play. I mean, again, like that goes. That's just one of these things where, if you're in this particular spot, I think like 1 out of 100 times, maybe you run across a player that does that, but I don't think that you're good there 1 out of 4 times.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, what is he doing? Obviously he's bluffing, but like, it seems like such a ridiculous bluff when you've shown so much strength. How often is he getting a fold there? It's an absurd bluff, and that's why it worked. But it's kind of interesting.
I don't think he would have done it with anyone else. I think specifically me. I think, I don't know, maybe he picked up something on me or something, but I'm not sure really. He thought maybe I was bluffing or something. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but if he thinks you're bluffing, though, that's the illogical. That's the thing that's not really consistent. That's why it's weird, because if he thinks you're bluffing, why would he move all in? He's got queen jack. That's what I said before, right? So it doesn't make any sense, Hey, man, just chalk that one up and just realize that a lot of times people, at this level, live stuff, like on rivers, when you face raises on rivers at 2-5, it's almost, it's so much the nuts, Leo. Like, it's just a lot of nut hands. So I have no problem with your fold there. Anyways, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. First-time caller. All right, 910, you're up next. Caller in the 910.
Yeah, hey, Bart. What's going on, buddy?
What's up?
This is Beats Me from North Carolina. I got a hand from a home game for you.
Okay.
So we're playing 2-5. Most of the hands are straddled to 10, but in this particular hand where the straddle is not on. So the effective stacks are going to be 800.
Okay.
And the under the gun player, who is a competent player, makes it 15, which is a very small raise size for this game. So
what did you say?
$15.
You said the effective size were 800, right?
Yeah, they're going to be 800 with the main villain.
Okay, so under the gun makes it 15.
Yep. So that's followed by 3 callers in the field, and then I'm in the small blind, and I have 2 black 8s, and I decide to call.
Okay.
And then the big blind comes along as well.
Okay.
And the big blind is going to be the main villain in the hand. He's a pretty big spot in the game. He's a big, rec player, has plenty of money.
Yeah.
A lot of poker. So the flop comes out Jack 8-7,
So
all diamonds.
so by the way, so we're looking at what, 5 ways, something like that, 5 or 6,
Six.
6 ways.
6 ways.
So it's 90.
Yep. Well, yeah, 80 after the rake.
Okay. So the flop is what you said, a bottom 7 monotone, Jack 8, Jack 9-8, or Jack 8-7.
Jack 8-7, yeah. So I flop middle set on a monotone board,
Okay.
all diamonds. So I guess, I mean, at the time I thought a check raise was probably what I was going to go for. So, I mean, is that a decent approach at this point? Is just go for a check raise into this many players? Or should I just be leading out for like a $80, pot size bet?
I don't, check raising monotone boards here with sets. So this isn't just a set board. This is a straight board here too, right? So you're losing to 9-10 as well. And there aren't a whole lot of 2-pair. I mean, I guess some people can play like Jack 8 and Jack 7, but I wouldn't. I think your hand is too in between to check raise in the sense that what are you getting value from if you check raise? And also too, there's a little bit of stack protection thing. Like if I checked, I would try to look and see what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think, again, we talked about this from before with the guy with the pocket fours, or with Andrew in the beginning of this show. You can have an unbalanced leading range into a multi-way field, but even I mean, unbalanced in this case where you might not have a whole lot of bluffs here when you lead, but it still could be the best way to win money at this level. So I don't mind leading. I don't mind checking to see what happens as well. Check raising might be a little bit of an overplay. I mean, the person that I would be happy to check raise, get it in with, is the preflop raiser. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Because the preflop raiser might have a red overpair. You know what I mean? And they'll just get it in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I guess when I decided to not necessarily go for a check raise, maybe my intent was to check and just kind of see what happens from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do check. The big blind checks, under the gun checks. It checks all the way around to the last guy to act, and he bets $40.
So check to button.
So basically, he was on the button. And it checked all the way to him, and he bet $40 to like half the pot.
So this is interesting.
Point,
this is interesting here because now 40 into 90. God, there's so many shitty cards, but I mean, you can sort of see. But you get into one of these unintentional things where you could actually check raise here to like 120, and then if somebody in the middle flats or like comes back over, they have a flush because it's action against action. You know what I mean? So you could check raise here for a little bit of value and actually might even make the hand easier to play.
Right.
Because you know that somebody in the middle is gonna, call. I mean, probably I would check raise here when the button bets now. I don't hate a call. I don't hate a call either. But again, like we talked about, if you call, how are you gonna play the turn on a brick? You're going to check and it's going to get checked through, or you're going to check call. You lose a lot of value that way too. So,
right.
So
what? Just lead the turn, right?
You could check call lead turn, but
okay. So
I just don't.
When the button bet 40.
Yep.
Yeah, I elected to go for a check raise.
Okay.
And I made it 110.
Okay.
And then the big blind, so the guy directly to my left.
Yep.
He cold calls the 110. So he checked the flop. And then he cold called my,
right. But you think he's a big spot.
Range.
But you had said that you think he's a big spot, right?
Yeah, like I could see him doing this with the ace of diamonds. I could see him doing this with like the king of diamonds. I could see him probably sticking around with just a jack, like at least one street.
That's
just not going to fold a jack.
That's pretty optimistic what you're saying. Maybe he's got a jack and a high diamond and he's calling. Okay. But, against normal competition, you obviously have to be very concerned when someone cold calls a check raise here in this spot. But I sort of see what you're saying. So he calls, and then what?
Yep. It folds around, the button mucks his hand.
Okay.
So we go through the turn, it's heads up.
Yep.
There's about 320, 340 in the pot.
Okay.
340, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's a brick. It's like it's a black 3, an offsuit 3.
Okay.
So again, I feel like since I don't
so
know.
The pot's three. So the pot's about three. The pot's about 350. You have like 650 in your stack, right? So I mean, it sounds to me like your characterization of this guy is that he's so bad and he's so wide. Why would you not just bet here on the turn for value? Like I said, if you're up against somebody else where it's like, shit, he's super strong, you might just check and hope they make a sizing mistake. But I mean, it sounds to me like you think this guy's absurdly, like, you know, he's a fun player.
Sure. Yeah. He's a VIP.
Right. As Sam Broda says. Yeah.
Old Callin days. All right. So yeah, I mean, I decided to bet again. I wasn't gonna just let him have a free card with King Jack or Queen Jack with one diamond, you know. So I bet 200.
Okay.
And again, he flats. He calls.
Okay. So now you just have to be a little bit. I mean, that's good. Obviously, it's good. You just have to again recognize here that if the river comes out a blank and you maybe bet again and you get shoved on, that most of the time that's not going to be a bluff. You know, he's flopped the nuts basically because he's not going to turn the ace of diamonds into a bluff usually. But the stack sizes are getting a little bit awkward now. The pot is. I mean, hopefully, it will be interesting to see like if it gets. Yeah, I mean, you bet 200 into what 350, so it's about 740, and you have what about 400 left? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's kind of tough because of your stack sizes. Is the river clean? Is it like a black clean card?
It's a offsuit 6.
Offsuit 6.
It does put like 6, 7, 8 on board, but I mean 9, 10 was already there.
Yeah, that's pretty clean.
Kind of makes the board look scarier, but it's pretty much a brick.
So the pot's like 740. You've got 400 left. What's your sizing here, I guess, is the question. Yeah, it's very awkward. Like, if you had more money behind, you just bet 350.
Or do I just, like, go into a, like, do I decide to check call or check fold?
No. Again, with your characterization of this guy, checking would be bad because I think he's got a jack and a high diamond here a lot. So I would just bet modestly. You know what I mean? If he's missed with diamonds, okay, he's going to fold. But I'm targeting a jack here. So I'm trying to think. Okay, you've got 400. I mean, if you were deeper, you could just so easily bet 250 and if he ships on you. But if you bet 250, you only have like 150 left. I might bet 200 here on the river. Maybe 225, something like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, because I mean, I had like I had 415 left, 415ish. I remember just the chips in my stack.
Yeah.
And I bet 200 again.
Okay.
And he called me. He had a flush.
Just a small flush?
But I was just... No, he had Queen 10.
Queen 10 of diamonds?
Yeah. No, not King 10. Queen 10.
No, I know. But Queen 10 of diamonds. Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, like I said, this is a little bit different because of your characterization of this guy. And you just have to ask yourself, is your characterization of this guy right? Like, is he the biggest whale at the table? Is his range of calling as wide as you're saying it is, cold calling a check raise on the flop? If it is, if it is, I don't have a problem with your play. But I think a lot of people misinterpret. There are some guys that are fun, but they're not going to call a check raise cold. So if this was a normal player,
even with the ace of diamonds,
just like a naked ace of diamonds, I mean, I guess it's possible. But a lot of times they'll come out and bet there too. But what I was going to say is if this is a normal player, I would definitely play his hand differently. You know, because this looks like a flush a lot when a guy cold calls a check raise. But like I said, if you're a fun player, if he's a fun player, then, you know, you can try to squeeze max value out. Thanks for the call, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. Next caller, 708. 708, thank you for being patient. You're up next. 708.
Hey, Bart.
Hey.
This is a 5-10 game at Tampa Hard Rock.
Okay.
This is actually my second time ever playing 5-10.
Okay.
This was Saturday night.
Okay.
I bought in for 1,000, and we're about 3 hours into the session, and I'm up to 2,600.
Is this a capped game or is it uncapped?
It's 2,500 capped.
Okay, cool. So you're up to 2,600.
Right. And,
okay.
Yeah, I'm playing super tight pre-flop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the guys are giving me flack for, you know, not playing any hands. And so the villain's in his hand. The under the gun guy, he's like a late 20s professional player,
mm-hmm.
and he has him covered. And then the other guy on my immediate left, He's like mid 40s, very loose pre-flop. He's kind of like an all-purpose gambler type of player. You know, he was talking earlier about sports bets and roulette. So, yeah, kind of a little bit splashy. So we are under the gun +1 with 2 black kings.
Okay.
And the under the gun player, he raises to 40.
Okay.
And I 3-bet to 120.
Okay, right to his left, so pretty strong.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe I could size it larger to like 200 since we're really deep. But I just 3x'd it.
Yeah, I mean, you would probably go a little bit. I would probably go a little bit larger this deep, but you make it 120, and then what happens?
The guy, well, as I'm grabbing chips to raise, the guy on my left, he's like, "Oh, look, who's finally awake."
Okay.
And he snap calls like as soon as I put the money in the pot.
So UTG2 flats your raise.
That's right.
Okay.
And so everyone folds and we're heads up.
So under the gun folds.
That's right.
Okay.
And the guy on my left, he has 2,000 effective.
Okay.
So the flop is Queen of Spades, 10 of Hearts, 4 of Hearts.
Queen of Spades, 10 of Hearts, 4 of Hearts.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. This isn't a really good flop. This is not a great board for your hand when you talk about. You don't usually see people, flat 3-bets all that much, especially next to act in the field. But when they do, a lot of times they're going to have ace king, which of course you block, right? Pocket queens, pocket jacks, and pocket tens. So I think that this board sort of favors his range quite a bit, and I would check here before starting to make big, putting in big money. Hopefully it goes check, check, and maybe you can take jacks for a couple streets, but I would be very cautious here on this board.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I thought this guy. I thought if I showed weakness, this guy might be more likely to make a play at me. So, and I thought he would be calling here, calling pre-flop with ace-queen, king-queen, which I blocked, but also like queen-jack, because this guy, like I said, he's pretty loose.
Okay.
So, I chose to bet 225, and he snap calls.
So you bet 225, and he calls, okay?
Right. And so now on the turn, the pot's about 750.
Okay.
And it's the ace of diamonds.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously I didn't like that card. And at this point, I actually got kind of lost in the hand, My plan originally was just get 3 streets of value from a queen. But
Yeah, but how do you get 3? But I mean, like, unless he's playing super wide, what queens does he have here? Like ace queen suited? You mean something like that?
He'd call with ace queen offsuit, I think.
To 3-bets cold?
I'm not giving this guy too much credit.
Okay. Well, now you're screwed though. I mean, now you're really screwed. I mean, I think you're just forced to check fold here quite a bit because again, like, you're not gonna have a guy like turn jacks into a bluff here really enough for you to like hero down. And you have no equity, really, against an ace besides having a gut shot. So this just becomes a simple check fold. I mean, hey, I've been there before. Like, I've gotten lost in hands and a little bit foggy, especially if you're playing up, right? And you think that, people are going to be picking on you and you think this guy just comments and things like that about all this other, crap. But I don't know if you're going to tell me that you got bluffed out of this hand here or what. He showed some ridiculous hand down after you checked, or are you saying that what did you do? Did you bet here on the turn?
I bet 400.
Yeah,
and,
see. So what is betting? I mean, I think that's the worst thing that you can do here. Like, what is the purpose of betting here? You 3-bet kings, the guy flat calls behind you. It's very strong configuration. UTG1, you 3-bet, UTG2, even though you don't give him much credit, cold calls the 3-bet. And you bet queen 10-4. I already told you that it's not a good board for your hand given this action. But okay, maybe he's a little bit wider than we think. Now the turn's an ace. What is 400? What's the purpose of that bet?
See, I didn't I agree with you. I think it's very difficult to get called by worse in the spot. But
Yeah.
I'll just let you know my thinking at the time
Okay.
was that this board like smashes my 3-bet range, I think.
Sure.
And
That's
also
true.
if I have ace king, then I make it obviously. And I could have like queens and aces in my range.
Now
So,
that's true thinking, but the problem here though is that with your hand, so you're trying to use range advantage here to like get him to fold something, but so you're almost like turning your kings into a bluff, but what is he folding that you're not beating right now?
yeah.
You either have him beat right now, right? Or you have him beat right now, or and he's just gonna fold, right? Or
Yeah.
you know, if he calls you, you're beat. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you
Right.
bet 400.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he calls. And yeah, like I said, I really don't like to turn bet after thinking about it.
Like, because there's no way that you can have the best hand here, right? Like, you're trying to use range advantage, but what are you trying to bluff him off of? That's my question. What are you trying to bluff him off of that kings doesn't beat right now? Because you beat jacks, right?
Yeah.
So, are you trying to bluff him off of ace jack? You know, cold call, and then, you know, that's the issue. You know what I'm saying? So, pot's 15-50. Let's go to the river here.
So the river is ace of clubs.
Okay.
And at this point, my plan was just to check fold. And there's like not flush draw. If he is calling with suited aces here, obviously I don't beat that on the turn, but now he's gonna value bet that on the river as opposed to if a blank comes, he's probably not value betting a suited ace. But anyway, I check and he shoves like instantly. He just says all in, and I tank like a couple minutes and I fold.
Did he show you what he had?
He showed deuce 3 of hearts. Yeah, I was like really like tormented over it. Like this is the biggest pot I've been involved in personally, and really couldn't stop thinking about this hand for like a day.
I mean, I wouldn't get too upset. But obviously the guy is a guy that you want to play with if he's calling your 3-bets cold. When you raise from under the gun 1, he's calling you 3-bets cold with deuce 3 of hearts. It's just absurd.
Right.
Yeah, but it's one of these cases where if you had probably rightly checked the turn, you might have got bluffed off there anyways, but I think the point here is just try to, think about your opponent's range and what your own range is, and that turn is an interesting spot because you have these things going in your head where you're like, well, I'm going to use my, it looks like I have a strong hand here, so I'm going to use it. That would be okay if you had a hand like, say, 5-6 of spades on the turn. Like, say you had absolutely nothing, and you're going to use the board against this guy. Okay, but you have a hand that basically beats everything else that he would fold to a bet. And when you bet, like I said, he's not going to fold ace jack. So that's really what the issue is here. So anyways, thanks for the call.
Yep, thanks.
All right, guys. Well, it looks like we've gone about an hour. We've got 5 calls in here. Pretty good. So yeah. Some people in the live chat were saying that Garoppolo got traded to let me take a look here. Garoppolo got traded to San Francisco. Garoppolo, yep. Traded to San Francisco for a 2nd-round pick. That's just so amazing to me how like they're so fickle with draft picks in the NFL. I don't understand it because Garoppolo's been proven. I mean, I saw some stats that said that like he would be in the top half of starting quarterbacks right now from what people think about his scouting report and the games that he's played. So if you take a guy who's going to be at least a successful quarterback in the NFL as a starter, isn't that worth more than a random 2nd-round pick that could be a bust? It just doesn't. It's and that's actually a high trade. Like you usually don't see people get traded for 2nd-round picks. It's crazy, but it's kind of interesting. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Like I said, thank you for being subscribers. And if you're not, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, so we're leaving you with some Squish My Tomato music. Play you out with this.
You know what I'm talking about. You were with me when they count me out. So I put them boogers on you now. Diamond dancing while you sway. We took it slow like on the 405. You ain't doubted, never roll your eyes. Now the boogers on you froze like mine. On your wrist and neck and ring. They dancing, dancing. Can't help it, I wanna show her off. Pull up on him, then we skirt off. She stuck with me when I was worse off. Now we got guap by the furlong. Cause she the only one who ride like that. From the jump, she by my side like that. With me when I'm low high like that. So anything she wanna buy like that. So point it out and we can get that. The guala, baby, we can get back. The boogers on you, you can beat that. Beat that, yeah. You know what I'm talking about. You were with me when they count me out. So I put them boogers on you now. Diamond dancing while you sway. We took it slow like on the 405. You ain't gotta never roll your eyes. Now the boogers on you froze like mine. On your wrist and neck and ring. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. They dancing, 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 dancing like ballet. I've been meaning to text you, I've been meaning to call. I ain't mean to upset you, didn't mean it at all. Know exactly how you like it, all your little fetishes. See my long neck, good for reaching all them little crevices. Yeah, we can drop top in the 76. In a wide body so that ass can fit. I admit it, been dealing with issues. So just cause I ain't with you don't mean I miss you. I'm your big papi and mama Masita. No Richard Nixon, I want in a picture. We'll do it again like we don't get amnesia. So baby, next time that I see you, you know what I'm talking about. You were with me when they count me out. So I put them boogers on you now. Diamond dancing while you sway. We took it slow like on the 405. You ain't doubted, never roll your eyes. Now the boogers on you froze like mine. On your wrist and neck and ring. They dancing, 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 dancing like that.